It's a 22 model, it's got 9,000 miles. All right, so this is what a repo looks like. Grill missing, headlight missing, challengers and chargers everywhere. All right, so behind me, all of these, all bank repos. Another charger, two more. Challenger, busted challenger. Oh, there's another one. All right, another challenger. Are you counting? Thought I was done. There's a charger driving that way, and then you got another one sitting right there. All right, today I'm at a used car dealer auction, and all these cars you see behind me, they're all repos. And today I'm gonna show you what dealers are actually paying for these repossessed vehicles. All right, these are actually lined up, getting ready to go in. I'm gonna try to check the front of this one just so we see how much the miles are and everything. It's a 2022, so 22 model. It's got 9,000 miles. Looks sweet. I'm not gonna look on the inside because it's already got a driver in there, but we'll check it and see what it brings on the inside. There you go, on Mercedes. More repo goodness right there. So typically when you get these repos, you're gonna see stuff like this, like the door's all smashed in, it's scratched up. Because once these vehicles, once something goes wrong with them, whether it's cosmetic or mechanical, then people really don't want to pay for them anymore. And if they don't like the vehicle and they don't want to drive it anymore, then why pay it? So they just let it go back. They don't really care about their credit. They just stop paying for the car. Check that out. We are seeing challengers and chargers everywhere pop up at these auctions. All right, so if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. It really, really, really helps me out. All right, so this is what a repo looks like. Grill missing, headlight missing, hood smashed in, and more repo damage. All right, here's a big boy truck, a F-150 Platinum. It's got 70,000 miles. It's a 2018, and those kind of rims on it. I like the outside look of it. I like the lift. A little bit dirty, not terrible. I'm too short to see all the way in there, but you can see it there. But we'll check to see what this goes for. It's a 2018 F-150 Platinum. It's got 70,000 miles. And here are two more. All right, another charger. So we're seeing a lot more of this pop up too. You see these stickers that are on the car. You see 09 on that car. You see 2018. Those are stickers that like an independent dealer will put on their car that they're offering for sale on their lot. And I'm seeing a lot more of that pop up around these auctions. A lot more independent dealers actually sending their cars to the auction. And what that says is that they tried to sell it on their lot. It was retail ready. They had stickers on it and they couldn't sell it. So for whatever reason, now it ends up here. So they didn't want to actually lower their price, or they couldn't lower their price. And I'll explain that. So dealers are on floor plans. Floor plans are basically just credit lines that dealers have. And if a dealer bought that, let's say one of those vehicles a few months ago for $10,000, and they had it on their lot for, let's say, 13 grand, and no one bought it, and then they lowered their price to $12,000, no one bought it, and then they ended up lowering their price to $11,000, and then still no one bought it, then at some point they've actually got to get rid of that car quicker, and they can go through the process of lowering it 10, 9, 8, but at this point, they probably have $11,000 in that vehicle that they paid $10,000 for, because they have interest payments that come up on these cars as they keep them longer. So what they have to do is they have to take it to a place like this, an auction, because they can run it through and they'll get quick money for it. And whenever they can go ahead and turn that quick money, then the interest clock starts. And that's why you'll see a car come to here and they won't necessarily just keep lowering their prices on their lot, because they have to turn that quick money. They have to get rid of that car. There are a lot of these floor plan companies that after 60 days, you have to pay actually 50% of what you owe on that vehicle. So if they still owe $10,000, $11,000 on that vehicle and they're coming up on their 60 days, then a lot of floor plan companies will say, okay, you know what? You need to cut us a check for $5,000, $5,500 right now. And these dealers, they don't have it. Remember, they were borrowing money to buy that car, so they didn't have this money to begin with. So if they don't sell it in that 60 days, they got to raise some quick cash. And it might be that they have to dump some of their cars and take a $2,000, $3,000 loss by sending it through the auction, because they need that money today. They don't need it. They can't go through this process of keeping just lowering their prices till they find the magic number that a customer will buy it. They need that money right now. And the only way that they can get quick money is going through the auction. So they'll take a lot of losses by dumping these cars at auction because they're in a desperation mode and they need to pay their floor plan today. Challenger, busted Challenger with lots of noise behind me. There you go, there's another one. All right, another Challenger. Are you counting? Where are we at? You know what, I see more over there, but I'm tired of walking the lot. You've seen enough of these Chargers and Challengers. They're everywhere. Thought I was done. There's a Charger driving that way, and then you got another one sitting right there. All right, this one's interesting. I want to check it out. It's a 2017 Camry. It's got 78,000 miles. You don't see a whole lot of Camrys getting repo, but we're starting to see more and more of that now. This one actually looks good on the outside, a little dirty on the inside. Those are just floor mats, so, but a little bit, actually, there's some stain. It looks worse on the camera than it does actually in real life. But it's a 2017 Toyota Camry. It's got 78,000 miles. We'll check to see what a dealer will pay for this today. All right, so this one right here is really interesting to me. It's a 2018 Toyota Camry. If you have a dealership, you should be able to sell this. There should be no reason why this car's got to come to auction. So what happened? So that dealer probably bought that Camry 60 to 90 days ago, and they paid way too much for it, and they didn't lower their price quick enough to catch up with the market. And now they're stuck in it, and now they're probably going to take a loss, and they're just dumping it and getting off their floor plan, whatever, but they need to move that car right now because they've got way too much in it, and they're just not going to be able to sell it to make any money on their lot. And they're like, you know what, we don't want to lower it to have it compete with our other cars, our new cars that come in that we can actually make some money in. So they're just going to take their loss and move on to the next one. All right, here's another one. Nice Honda Civic with 2020 stickers on it. They even have their like little dealership statement or whatever in the car. So they were absolutely trying to sell that on their lot. They couldn't, for whatever reason, sell a 2020 Honda Civic. So now they got to dump it at auction, and they're going to take a loss on that car. All right, we'll check this one too. It's a 2018 Chevy Equinox. It's got 67,000 miles. So good miles on it. Outside looks pretty good. Inside actually looks really good too. You know, usually these things are beat up and nasty, but this one actually looks good. So we'll check it to see what it will bring. It's a 2018 Equinox. It's got 67,000 miles. So here's one thing too that I've noticed a lot more of popping up at these used car dealer auctions are work trucks. That's a F-350, and you see it had the sticker on it, the 2012, showing that a dealer was trying to sell it on their lot, and now they can't sell it, so they're sending it to auction. We're seeing a lot of that happen. Airplane. And that's very worrisome for our economy, because the more work trucks we see getting pumped through these auctions, the more people aren't buying them, meaning that these contractors, maybe these home builders, they aren't thriving like they have been the last year and a half, and that's just a factor of interest rates. Here's a Honda Civic we can check. It's 2016 Honda Civic. It's got 147,000 miles. So higher mileage and a repo, and the outside looks good. Inside actually I think looks great. Could use a little cleanup, but it's not tore up or anything like that. Looks good overall. It's a 2016 Civic. It's got 147,000 miles. We'll see what it brings. All right, so the way this auction operates is all of these cars start out in this lot right here, and then they actually take them down to the lanes. If I'm pointing right, they got 4 lanes that run through this auction. They'll run all of these cars through this lane, those 4 lanes, and then they'll come out of this garage right here and then go back into their spots. But you'll see that they're facing all one way right now. Whenever they run through the auction, when they come back, they'll be facing the other way. And a lot of them you'll see have blinkers on. I get a lot of questions about that. What that means is that the car is ready to go. The lot manager will go in, check everyone crank to make sure it'll crank and make sure it doesn't need gas or anything like that. And whenever they put the blinker on, that notifies the drivers that this one's ready to go. It does not need attention. So here's a repo that should be cheaper. It's got some body damage on it, and it's a Jeep Patriot. So these tend to be cheaper anyway. It's a 2014 Patriot. It's got 111,000 miles. It's trail rated. The outside, you saw the little bit of body damage, but the inside looks actually pretty clean. So we'll check to see what this brings. It should be cheaper, and we want to see it be cheaper because we want to see prices come down, but I'm just curious to see what this brings with the body damage and it being a Patriot. It's a 2014 Patriot with 111,000 miles. So I've had a lot of people comment at this auction, they hear like a high-pitched whine or whatever, and they think it's coming from like the audio equipment. It's not. There's actually a big factory right beside this auction lot, and I don't know what they're doing in there, but that's the sound you're hearing. It's coming from there. All right, price time. We'll see what these dealers actually paid for these repos that went through the lane. So the first one was that 2018 F-150. It had 70,000 miles on it. So it started out somewhere around $35,000. The auctioneer was trying to get somebody to bid and never got a bid, kept lowering the price, and finally got down to $28,000 and still no bids. So they just sent it out and said no sale. The seller said that they needed $30,000 for that vehicle. They were actually offered, there was a bidder that came up and offered $29,000 for that F-150, and the seller sold it. All right, the 2017 Camry had 78,000 miles on it. It brought $14,100 in lane, and it sold. Okay, the 2018 Equinox had 67,000 miles on it. It brought $11,200 in lane, and it sold. So the 2014 Patriot had 111,000 miles. If I remember correctly, it had a little bit of damage on the outside, and it still brought $6,000 in lane, and they sold it. That seems very high to me for that vehicle. The 2016 Honda Civic had 147,000 miles. It sold for $8,400. Now, the interesting thing about this Civic, I'm not sure if it would have brought more money had this not been happening, but it was actually dragging something metal under it as it went through the lane, and it was making just the worst kind of noise. I'm not even sure what it was. I wasn't able to get under it to figure out what it was. It still brought $8,400 in lane, and they sold it. All right, so the 2022 Challenger, it had 9,800 miles on it. The auctioneer started somewhere on like $55,000. Never got a bid, lowered it all the way to 48 grand. Still never got a bid. There were no dealers that even wanted to look at this vehicle while it was coming through. And the seller said that they needed $53,000 for it. Sometimes you'll get a bidder that'll come up and try to negotiate at that point and maybe try to get it for something like 50 grand, somewhere around there. But there wasn't even a bidder that came up to question the seller about the car or try to get a better price. That, like, no one wanted it. There was no one even looking at it when it was coming in. That's just the type of vehicle right now that these dealers are staying away from, because, I mean, if they're going to have to pay $53,000 for that car, they're going to have to sell it for somewhere around 60 grand probably if it's perfect. And there's just no appetite for that kind of vehicle right now. The demand is just dried up for that kind of thing. And two, these are the vehicles that are getting repoed. You saw them everywhere in today's video, right? And people are having a harder time getting a loan, especially on something like that. All right, so this one right here is interesting to me. There's an airplane. Gotta wait for it. I will say one of the hard things about filming at this location, I don't know if you can hear it above me. Let's see if I can show it to you. But we're close to an airport, so I constantly have airplanes going over the top of us. So I have to cut a lot of times in the middle of anything that I'm talking about, and that makes it hard to edit and hard to keep a consistent thought. So that's just one of the struggles. I know I show you guys a lot of behind the scenes stuff towards the end of the video. So that's one thing about this auction I do not like. And guess what? Another Charger. All right, so I hate it, but I gotta do it because it worked. So I gotta do it. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I know it feels icky. I hate having to ask you for a subscription. You know what? I'm not going to put an airplane. Ow. Wonder if you heard that. Oh, that hurt my toe.